Howdy guys, it's Bo here again, and to carry on with the series of kind of entries I've been doing about surrounding the topic of kind of trusting yourself, and and for those of you who kind of aren't as adventurous, let's just say, like you're not as ambitious, like learning to place your trust in other people that might have that ambition, and to have the faith that if you support them in their direction, in the direction that they're going, that ultimately it's going to bring benefit to you, and everyone else around you, humanity as a whole, right? So in this entry, I wanted to talk about ultimately it's kind of, this is where I contradict myself slightly, right? Because the overall kind of the energy that I've been putting forth in these videos is kind of one of trust in yourself, be successful, like the typical kind of like message that is given by people like me, who are on that path, telling you that the best thing to do for you is to follow a path of passion, a path of going against the grain to do what you truly want and that kind of thing. Yes, that is my perspective, right? And that's why I'm so passionate about it. But this is where I'm going to contradict myself a bit, in that that's not necessarily the right thing for you, right? Yes, following your passion and your joy and all of that shit is like, all of that good stuff is good, like I've been telling you, in these entries, and like you can find loads of people on YouTube and things like that, you can find lots of different people who have done this and also preach and vouch for the benefits of doing this, the freedom that comes with this, right? Because that's ultimately what we're chasing. We're chasing freedom, we're chasing happiness, right? That the happiness that comes from freedom, right? The freedom to be yourself, the freedom to do what you want in life. But doing this, pursuing a life of freedom is not necessarily the right thing for you. And it's not necessarily the right thing, period, right? Because this is ultimately the question of security or freedom, right? And obviously I've been, biasing a lot towards the freedom side of things, but ultimately security still remains an option, right? There are so many of you in the world, that I've been talking to through these recent videos, having faith towards people who do have that ambition, who do strive for freedom, and trusting that, they will benefit you in the long run as well. But that doesn't change the fact that you're still on the path of security, right? The path of security being, the whole thing that's been presented to you by society, You go to school, you do a job, and you kind of just have a normal life, by society's standards, right? And I'm saying right in this entry that, ultimately there is nothing wrong with that, right? There is no one being or entity telling you, there's no almighty authority telling you, not even me, right, that like this path of security is wrong, right? It's not wrong. It's just a path, right? In the same way that following your passion and taking responsibility to consciously create the life that you want is a path, right? Security, similarly, is also a path, right? I can give you pros and cons for both, right? There are pros and cons for both, but there's no one better path than the other one, right? Both paths have their pros and cons, right? And this kind of goes back to previous entries where I've talked about developing a flexibility in your thinking, right? And I'm going to talk about also the pitfalls of this in later entries, but like you start to see that neither of these paths is better than the other one necessarily, right? Because you choose a path of freedom and get all of the things that I've listed so far. You get to be yourself, you get to be authentic because you choose a path that's in line with what your passions are, your personality, your values, that kind of thing. You are in charge of, your own lifestyle. You can, you start to micromanage your own life, and you start to kind of be able to tweak, fully customize, the way that you spend your days. So you have freedom in that sense. The kind of the upside, the kind of glass ceiling that most of people feel in society is more or less lifted from you, once you get past a certain point, because you're designing your own life. It's not contingent necessarily on any kind of pervasive condition, or anything like that. This could apply to the money you earn. This could apply to the quality of relationships that you experience, both kind of platonic and sexual. The kind of things that you involve yourself in, the sky's the limit, basically, once you start to pursue the path of freedom. So you get all of these things. These are all the pros of being free, and a lot of us, and you get to deliver yourself from this kind of pain, of this kind of feeling of numbness that many people feel in society, such that it's become like the default. It's almost like it's synonymous with breathing. This feeling of meaninglessness, nihilism. Life has no meaning. It's just another day. Another day, another dollar. Right? That kind of feeling. You get to break free from that, based off of your own, hard work. And your own kind of efforts. Right? And that's an amazing feeling, right? And that's the pros of freedom, right? You get to be your own person, right? You get to live a life that you consciously made, It's your creation. But you choose a path of freedom, and everyone is against you, right? That's what I've been talking about in these previous entries. Everyone is against you. You literally, the minute you make the decision to, to pursue a path of freedom, a path of, personal growth, you're alone, basically. Eventually you will find people, who will be your mentors, people who support you, people who are on a similar path. But until then, for most of us starting out, in just normal kind of circumstance, you will be ostracized to an extent. You will start to feel yourself being segregated from other people. And honestly speaking, that's not too bad, because, I guess from my point of view, I've always kind of been like that, and I think most people who choose a path of freedom tend to be kind of a bit weird anyway. They tend to be a bit of a black sheep anyway, so it's not a big deal. But still, you have to face the friction that you're going to have with other people, right? People are going to disagree with you. People are going to try to get you off that path, right? Because it challenges their own kind of thinking, right? So yeah, there's that. And everything that you then do is on you, right? There's no one holding your hand, right? It's not like in a job even. In a job you can be laid off, right? But ultimately, you can there's still a bit of a cushioning from, from your management or from the government, If you get laid off, you can you're entitled to sometimes you have severance packages or things like that where you can be supported, right? But you become self-employed, or you become you choose your own path, and everything is on you, right? If you fail, it's your fucking fault. If you get into debt, it's your fucking fault. If everyone thinks that you're a weirdo, it's your fucking fault, right? Everything becomes your fault. You have to take responsibility for everything, right? And ultimately, also, you have to deal with the uncertainty of well, I'm kind of trailblazing here. There's no one telling me whether or not something is good, and I'm gonna have to live with that if I choose this path for the rest of my life, pretty much. As long as I continue to follow this path, then I'm it's going to be I'm going to be faced constantly. The fear of uncertainty is always going to be right in your face, right in my face. So that's another thing, right? So it's scary. It's, as much as it is freeing, it is also scary, right? And similarly, this applies to, if you choose a path of security, right? Yes, you basically live in this haze for most of your life. You kind of get pushed around by life, you get pushed around by other people, you don't really have much of a say, you can't really be yourself, you have to wear a mask in front of people, your kind of base level of awareness is very low, so like you don't know why you feel shitty most of the time. You're not very self-aware, you know. Yeah, you know, all of those things, right? The things I've been talking about. But you choose a path of security, you still get the kind of the blanket protection of society, right? People will cheer you on as long as you're socially acceptable, right? You know, you can live comfortably. You can basically just go to this job or whatever, you know, and just do that without really thinking about it, without really having to be scared of what's going to come next. And you're going to be supported, right? And you can spend most of your time not like, you know, racking your brain, like trying to think of what you need to do, like to sustain yourself, or like, how best to like now structure your approach to like entrepreneurship or whatever. No, you can lavish yourself with like, you know, the trappings of life. You know, you can like experience life. You can go traveling. You can buy like loads of cool things. You can eat lots of delicious food. You know, like you can do all of the things that normal people do, you know, and enjoy. You know, you sit at home and just watch TV. You know, and that is pleasurable. You know, I like doing that. Like I like escaping from time to time. You know, like you can play games. You know, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Like knowing that, like, you know, your paycheck is secure in a way. Like you don't have to think about it, right? So it is very comfortable, and like there's a reason why this kind of paradigm has developed over like kind of centuries. You know, like where people, you know, go to work and they can just, you know, just live life in that way. You know, very comfortable. Yeah, you know, like there's a reason for it, right? So freedom is not necessarily what you're after, and neither is security, right? And the point of me telling you this is that no one's going to make the choice for you, right? It's going to have to come from you, right? It is a choice, right? Because we like to think, you know, I've thought for the longest time that yes, freedom is, you know, the way forward. You know, freedom, like, you know, fuck security. Like, freedom is where it's at, you know? You get to be so free, you know? You don't have to listen to anyone. You don't have to agree with anyone. You can just do what you want, right? And it's just unlimited upside, you know? Like, you can earn money in your own way, you know? You can inspire people. You can do creative things, you know? Maximize your creativity and all of this wonderful stuff. But it's damn hard, you know? Like, it's not as though like someone can like hand you a blueprint like they do in like regular life. You know, this is your job, do it, and you'll be paid money. Then you can like spend the rest of the time vegged out in front of the TV. You know, that's pretty comfortable, you know? But like, you can't do that when you choose a life of freedom. So, you know, so I slowly realized that, you know, it's not really my place. You know, I will still keep providing this message for those of you who are curious or like who wish to choose the path of freedom. You know, the ones who are willing and have done the mental preparation, you know, the emotional preparation to go on this journey. You know, I will continue to give my perspective in support of that, but like, it's not my place to try to indoctrinate people onto the path of freedom, because, you know, what I say is ultimately not, like, you know, the benefits I preach aren't necessarily going to resonate with everyone, you know, and it's not that a path of freedom is the best thing, like, since sliced bread. It's not, you know. There are people who are really happy to be on the path of security, because it, you know, it's cool, it's nice, you know, and just people prefer it, right? So, you know, yeah, it's up to you, right? There's no one's gonna tell you to do it. Like, ultimately, no one's going to tell you. You know, if once you've made the decision, that, you know, then you can let people tell you that, you know, to keep going or whatever. But like, the ultimate decision rests with you. And it's a choice, and either choice will yield benefits and detriments, right? So that's life, bro, and sister. So cool. That was my ambiguous message for this entry. My grey message. You know, life is grey. So cool. Hopefully that was enlightening, and I will catch you in the next entry. Peace.